Hello and welcome back to the Damon Rowan podcast. I'm Damon Rowan and this week I'm going to be detailing how you can hack your productivity so you can not only be more productive in getting the things you want done, but also improve your time management, and as a result of aligning those two, you'll have more time to do the things you really enjoy more regularly from becoming better organised. Now, becoming better organised is often essential in being able to carry out meaningful action each day towards the things you need to get done, be it for work, family, your goals, and any other things that you have to put time and effort in your day-to-day life to advance and move forward. Now, without organisation, you're without a plan and you're much more likely to get distracted by unimportant things simply because you don't have priorities, whereas when you get organised, you'll become more productive and more in control of how you conduct yourself and your life, and leading to more of the things you enjoy and helping you to stay motivated in the long term in achieving what you want to achieve. Now, why get organised? The reason it's important to get organised is because we have a limited attention span and ability to put our focus, our time and effort into getting what we want done, and this is especially difficult these days with an almost constant flow of stimulus and distractions that drag us away from getting what we want done. Now, probably the most noticeable form of distraction is going to be your phone, and this is largely down to things like constant checking of emails, your social media, be it your Snapchat, your Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you're scrolling through them, binge watching on apps like YouTube and Netflix for hours. I'm guilty of that myself, and because our phones are so accessible at all times, it makes it very difficult for many of us to put them down. Like, we often feel compelled to react or check in every few minutes to see what's going on, and even when we're supposed to be doing something else, and by doing this multiple times every day, that eats up a lot of our focus and energy and attention, as we're constantly, we're taking in a constant stream of information. And what happens if you don't get in control of this flow of information being thrown at you is you'll likely never move forward and get the things you really want done, because you're always reacting and being reactive instead of being proactive. So why get more organised? Getting more organised allows you to prioritise the things that you're meant to be doing and allows you to take action on the things that are important to you without getting too distracted. Now, I know I've mentioned how your phone can be a major distraction in getting things done, but in this podcast I'm going to be going over ways I use my phone to get more done and things that help me to become more organised, and how these things can help you in gaining more control of your organisation and time management so you can recognise what's important and what's not important and prioritise accordingly from there. So by developing a core life skill of becoming more organised and productive, it's not only going to serve you in your day-to-day life, but over the long term, as you continue to carry out meaningful and purposeful action on a consistent basis, it can drastically change the quality of your life, health, fitness, career, and more, depending on where your priorities are set. So it doesn't take a lot of skill to become more organised, just some self-discipline and motivation, and that's all you need to get started. So to be productive is obviously to be able to get your most important tasks and work done on time to the highest possible quality. So being able to focus on important work and ensuring that gets done to a standard you can be happy with is obviously crucial. And here it's also important to recognise what isn't productive. Like, a lot of people can fool themselves into being busy and feeling busy all the time because they're telling themselves they're always doing something or they always have to be doing something. But if you're just saying to yourself that you're just you're just busy doing things without actually being productive or producing work and results off the back of that, then you're just being poor with your efforts and time management and allowing yourself to become a busy fool. Now, I've let myself get into the mindset of a busy fool many times, and I no doubt probably will again in the future, and what essentially feels like is your mind is, flustered and everywhere because you've tons of things on your to-do list and you don't have any time for anything or anyone because of that, yet you're doing nothing productive to actually get those things done or get them ticked off your to-do list. Now, being able to recognise what things are coming up on your to-do list or goals in general and knowing what needs your attention at the right times is obviously going to help in improving your productivity, and this is where using your phone to help with that comes in. So to help with this, I'd advise using a calendar and a to-do list to know what important events, goals or tasks are coming up and how you should prioritise your time and energy into being prepared for those things by getting the work done and quality of work done to a good standard, so when the time comes you can be satisfied with how you prepared. And finally, the last part of what it means to be productive is the ability to be able to switch off, relax and recover at the right times also. And the reason I say this is an important part is because you'll be able to allow yourself to chill out and wind down and enjoy things more and don't have to stress or worry about things that you have to do because you're productive, you're organised and you know what's coming up and have a plan to act on that. So for me, a huge part of my productivity relies on my phone usage. Now, as I mentioned, I know I said phones can be the biggest distraction to your productivity, and that can obviously be true, but it really depends on the way you use it. Like, your phone is essentially a tool, and like any tool, if you don't use it the right way, you likely won't get the intended results. Use it the right way and your results will obviously dramatically improve. Now, for me, when using my phone to be productive, I use 3 main apps that allow me to be more productive, and those are my calendar, my phone's notes, and to-do list manager. And here I'm going to go through each of them and how I use these apps as tools for maximizing my productivity so you can get the things I want done and towards my goals, and how you can apply these same steps in getting what you want done too. So just going over them again, the 3 tools you can use to be more productive and organised is your phone's calendar. It allows you to know where you need to be and when you need to be. Your note-taking app, so that allows you to take obviously important notes and organize things more clearly than just thinking off the top of your head all the time, and that saves, a good bit of organization. And then finally is your to-do list, which helps you to stay on top of all the things so you can stay organized and be productive a lot better. So first off, going into your calendar. For the calendar app, I recommend using Google Calendar simply because it can be synced easily to your phone, laptop, tablet, computer, whatever the other devices that you'd like to use it on, making it easily accessible at all times. Now, Google Calendar is also fairly easy to use because it allows you to use different calendars and combine them into one calendar. So say you have one for work where you have whatever aspects that you have doing, like your work shifts, your meetings, projects, appointments, and whatever other aspects you need to factor into your work, depending on what line of work you're in. And then you can also have another one for your personal things. So say you're exercising or going to the gym, you can set up a routine and doing that, and it's particularly useful for setting up a morning routine as well, and prioritizing times where you can wind down and relax, and so on from there. And from here you can also color code your activities and your tasks and events, so each day and each month and each week you can have an idea of the things planned ahead by just even glancing at your Google Calendar. So having a personal calendar that's easily accessible helps you to become a lot more organized and productive, as you know the what, where and when of how you plan to be doing things, and it helps you to stay on track a lot more easily as a result of that. And a little side note, I'd say one more thing about having a calendar is not to get swept up in having something planned every minute of every day with one event after another. Especially if you're only starting out, like I know it can feel good to be ambitious and write down maybe 10 things you want done each day of the week and thinking, if I get all these done, I'll be way ahead of my schedule and way ahead of my goals. But make sure to recognize on how much you can actually realistically do, and make sure you can do those things well and to a good standard, and then you can work on adding more stuff to your plans on a daily basis. So when you start out, try to pick maybe 1 to 3 main things you'd like to do each day, and think by the end of the day or end of the week, if you get those things done well, you'll be happy with yourself and see how you do from there. So for example, say you write down that you want to do, you want to go to the gym maybe on Monday, Wednesday and Friday of this week, and you'd like to read for an hour 3 times this week, and maybe one more thing like maybe work related, that you'd like to spend 4 to 6 hours working on a project for work by the end of the week, and then trying to find time slots that suit you best in those things and see how well you do. So if you found it easy, you can obviously add more things to do next week, because you obviously found it manageable. And if you can found that you just about manage it, all the things that you put down, that's probably the right amount of things that you're able to take on for now. So stick at that. And if you found it a bit too difficult, that you can always reduce back and scale back on the things until they're manageable for you. And the reason I say all of this is because it's good to have a trial and error phase where you kind of figure out how much you can do and do it well on a daily, weekly and monthly basis. And from there you can assess on how you do how you can do things and be able to organize your time and energy better as a whole, because you know how productive you can be, and improving your productivity and organizing skills as a result of all that. So after getting your calendar organized, the next thing that's going to help you in becoming more productive is going to be your note-taking app. Now, it doesn't really matter too much on what you use, but again, like Google Calendar, I'd advise using one that allows you to sync with other devices so that you can make it more accessible to you at different times as much as possible. So for me, I use the app Evernote. I think the subscription's about 50 or 60 euro a year, which isn't an awful lot when you're considering the amount of return value you get out of using it and being more productive and organized with your time. But if you prefer to use something for less money or even for free, there are other apps that you can use, like Microsoft OneNote is a good one. Just try to make sure that they can sync across devices simply because they're more accessible. So again, like using the calendar, I'd advise organizing your notes so you can decipher between work things and personal things, and the way you can do this is by creating tags or categories for each, or even in Evernote where you can make different notebooks to keep on top of all your files and notes and other things that need to be organized. So for example, my work is, I've got different folders for different things like my website, podcast, my marketing, social media, different client programs and all that. And from there then it makes it very easy for me to organize and find the things that I want to work on, while also storing all the past things and past files I've worked on so that I have them in a safe place, and then I can look back on them and refer to them whenever I want. And this obviously makes it much easier to stay organized and on top of things, as I'm not searching through a load of different apps or files or websites or emails and all that and to find what I'm looking for. And it makes me much more productive as a result. And on the other hand of things, like on the other side, it's the personal side of things. It also makes it a lot easier for me to organize things from week to week. So for example, say I have my own training plan PDF for the gym, and it's there and it's easily accessible, along with other things like shopping lists, my journal and ideas, and whatever else you might use it for yourself. You have your own ideas as well. But having notes also lets you organize other things, like larger personal things, like personal projects, like going on holidays maybe, and what you want to do do on holidays and being able to organise going to maybe, different things like that on holidays and different events. You can also make the best out of them by having good organisation and planning ahead of time, and that's obviously easier if you have the note-taking app and a little file all to, add in your little things to that. And the last productivity app is going to be your to-do list app. So the last tool to improve your productivity and organising is having a to-do list app. And again, like the last two tools, the to-do list app doesn't matter which one, so long as it can be synced across other devices. So you can even use Google Calendar because that has a built-in to-do list in it. But for me personally, I use the app Todoist. So here I'm just going to go through a system that I learned a while back on how to get the best out of your to-do list and being able to get most of the things you want done. So try using and applying this system in your own process, and I guarantee you'll begin to see results faster. So a little side note in this is if it helps you if you have the Todoist app that allows you to color code things to be assigned to different tasks. But if you don't, it's no bother anyway. You can just use whatever you have. And the first thing is to set up a task category called routines and create 3 subsets of this category, so that divides up your daily, weekly and monthly routines you'd like to be completed. So for this, it's fairly self-explanatory in that your daily routine sections set up and reflect what you want done every day. Your weekly routines, obviously what you want done every week, and obviously same goes for the month again. But for example, say each day I'll have a to-do list for I want to spend an hour writing, and at the end of each day I'll take that off as I've completed it. And the way you use this is it's dependent on how you like your days, weeks and months structured, and set up recurrent tasks as you see fit in terms of that. So say for weekly tasks, you could have something like go to the gym or exercise 3 times a week, and each month you could have something like booking a hair appointment or booking a haircut or something like that, and that'll help you keep on top of things much easier and having more organisation, so you know what you're doing and when. Whereas if you're just thinking of things at the top of your head, then you're just obviously going to forget a lot of things, or you won't include a lot of things, and they might catch up on you and you won't be organised ahead of time. So the next category can be your work. So here set up a category that organises different things like projects. For me, it'd be kind of like different projects, the client check-ins, different meetings, client sessions, marketing and so on, and different things you want to spend your time at. And obviously depending on what line of work you're in, depending on what you're doing, you'll have different aspects and priorities you'll be placing your time and focus into. So I'll just leave this category open-ended for you to decide what best aligns with your priorities for that, but just get a kind of routine set up around it, and it'll obviously help you become more organised. And another good one for people is to have a home category. So having a home category is really useful in a to-do list in getting things you want done at home and around the house, whether that be maintenance and things like cutting the lawn, cleaning, hoovering, repairing things. And again, that you have that in what you want to do and what you want to decide to prioritise and get done yourself. And at the end of each day, end of each week, month, having a to-do list for the things you want done at home is going to help you being that more organised in your organisation and productivity skills, as you have a better grasp on what you want to get done. And finally, another good to-do list category is your goals. So for goals, you can have a to-do list for each separate goal you might have, depending on your, I'd say maybe fitness goals, personal goals, professional, financial, and so on, depending on what your priorities are set at. And having a to-do list also helps in breaking down your goals into more smaller, manageable chunks that you can chip away at each week, day, and month, and have an end in sight on how and when you'll achieve those goals. And the last app, or it's kind of a piece of advice, is kind of a safeguard. If you still find yourself wasting time and going on apps on your phone that are draining your productivity, is getting an app that's an app blocking app. So that doesn't let you use certain apps like social media apps or YouTube and Netflix until you either turn it off after you've used the app for a certain amount of time, or you have it set for certain times of the day where you don't want to be using those apps. And the app I use for this is called BlockSite, but there's essentially hundreds of these apps, and they all do essentially the same job in that it's going to block using certain apps at certain times, and that's obviously going to contribute towards helping you become more productive and organised, as you're less prone to getting distracted. And that pretty much covers everything in terms of productivity hacking and using your phone to keep it simple and accessible so that you can stay on top of things and achieve your goals. So thanks for listening. If you think anyone else would get value out of this episode, be sure to share it and give it a like, and I'll catch you next week for a new episode. Thanks.